So this is David's phone. He's got this problem. He's got to deposit this check, right? Now, David's bank, here called Basic Bank, has fairly recently released their new mobile app. He chooses the option to deposit the check. He's at the spot where he's going to take a picture of his check. So his check is for $50. So we'll enter in his amount, put in his $50, and let's take a picture. And now we'll take the picture of the back of the check so we can see his signature there. So he's now ready to go ahead and submit his check. So as he does that, you can see what that's triggering on the side of Basic Bank. So his information is coming in, it's being deposited. He gets back this message on his mobile app that says, check submitted successfully. That's great. Now, as David was depositing that check, it was put into the check queue. And of course, they've got 24 hours to be able to process this check, and there's a lot of checks that they're processing. And so they can't manually inspect every one. At Basic Bank, what happens is the next day, Olivia from the operations team comes in. So Olivia, what her job is to figure out what the rules are according to the risk tolerance for how they're going to go through and figure out what checks they're going to analyze. And so his check makes the cut, right? So it's $5,000, so it makes the cut based on the amount. So she assigns that to Oscar to take a look at. I now want to introduce you to Jen. So Jen is David's wife. That same day, she's on her way into the mall. David's birthday is coming up. She's hoping to get him something special. She pops up her mobile app, again looking at her account balance now, and she sees that there's $5,000 in the account. Because did you notice what happened when I submitted that check? I put $5,000 instead of $50 because I missed the decimal point. Right? So she sees this copious amounts of money in this account. She thinks, this is great. I'm going to get David that new big screen TV that he's always been wanting. This is fantastic. So she actually goes ahead and makes that purchase. About the same time, Oscar gets to David's case. He's looking at it. He says, oh, OK, we got this check. He put $5,000. He meant $50. He reaches back out to Olivia, say, Olivia, we got to get in touch with David. We got to let him know that we had to reverse this account. So she goes ahead and calls him. He's not too happy that it took, now about maybe 12 hours to figure this out, maybe 16 hours. But he kind of chalks it up to, oh, well, I guess that's what I get for the convenience of depositing my check. And everything is fine until the next day when he's at the grocery store. And he pulls out his debit card. He's at the checkout, and he wants to pay for his purchase. And his card is declined. He's like, what is happening? Why don't I have money in my account? What's going on? So he unfortunately has some cash, pays for his purchase, and he goes to calls the bank, gets in touch with Olivia, says, Olivia, what's happening here? I had all this money in my account. They sort through the complex transactions, figuring out, OK, what's going on here? They unravel the mess, ultimately to figure out. In the process, they expose that Jen has purchased this big screen TV, by the way, for David. So the surprise is out. Cat's out of the bag. And eventually, they get it sorted out, and they figure out what's going to happen. But what does David do? He hangs up the phone, and the very first thing he does, open up his phone again. He actually downloads Basic Bank's competitor's app, Smart Bank, opens an account, and they've just lost him as a customer. So you can see, at the end of our story here, David's customer satisfaction is low with respect to Basic Bank. And from a revenue impact, this is a very important mistake that they've just made because they've lost him as a customer. OK, so now what I want to do is quickly take you through another scenario, because we're going to rewind time. And we're going to see what things would have looked like if David was actually a customer of Smart Bank from the very beginning. So here we're going to open up Smart Bank's app. And as we do that, we can see that it looks pretty similar, actually, and has great functionality. The difference is that Smart Bank built it with the IBM Ready app for retail banking, which means they saved a lot of time and money in doing so, and as a result, had a lot of time left over to focus on their back end. And that's where we're going to see this process come into play. So let's go ahead as David, and we will deposit our check. Now, I've already pre-taken our picture, so we can save that but we're going to make the same mistake. So I'm going to deposit it with $5,000 here. Let me go ahead and hit submit. So as I do that, we're kind of frozen in time over here, because we're going to see what happens in the back end. Because instead of this going into a check queue, now it's automatically kicking off a process that does a few key things. Number one, we're pulling out the check image. So we're running this through our intelligent imaging system, gathering the check details so that we can then run some business rules that are going to use our smarter process capability along with information about David, his accounts, what kind of purchases he's made. We're going to catch the actual validation problem that we had, the 50 versus 5,000. And we're going to route that through another set of business rules that is actually going to be able to tell us what we should do as a result of detecting this error. Is there anything that we can suggest to David that makes it as easy as possible for him to go ahead and fix this? So we'll run those business rules, and then as a result, we'll send this response back to David. Of course, this is all happening in real time. And so up on David's device, we'll pop this little message here in the please wait area. So here it goes. It says the amount entered does not match the check value, so we found it. Click retry below to deposit $50 instead of $5,000. So we can detect and give him some helpful advice. So let's go ahead and hit retry. It automatically resubmits it, runs that same process again. The difference is, of course, this time there's no validation errors. We go through the happy path, and we respond back to David that his submission is successful. And he's pretty happy about that. He says, oh, well, gee, I can only imagine the kind of terrible things that would have happened if I had been able to deposit $5,000 instead of $50. So just a really quick look at one simple way that smarter process can be used with your mobile applications to really bring efficiency, improve customer satisfaction, and ultimately improve our customer experience at the bank.